I want the Christians to wake up and listen to this. Historically, Christians, this is where the Muslims are going to get you. When you have Christians who are dominant and they are governing the land, listen to what I'm saying. Listen, be careful. I don't want you to twist my words. Those Christians seek to legislate according to divine law. So what they do is they look to the Old Testament as a model, how to then govern the land in such a way that we can guarantee God's blessings and not curse on the land. This is why you'll find when Europe was Christian majority, apostates were put to death. Heretics were put to death because this was part of the Old Testament theocratic system. Because if you don't check apostasy and heresy, it spreads and corrupts the entire community. Now, I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're wrong. When Christians argue against, let's say, Islamic rule forbidding them from believing a particular religion, what you're doing, you're not arguing as a Christian historically. You're arguing as a secular humanist.
I see.
Everyone got what I'm saying? Does everyone understand?
Yeah.
Those are not Christian values necessarily. They're not divine laws. These are simply laws, rules that humans came up with in opposition to God's rule, thinking that they are enlightened and can do a better job. But now notice the hypocrisy. Those same people who are against, let's say, the Bible, are now the same people who are throwing you in jail for standing up for biblical values. So if you say that marriage is between a husband and wife, those same people who claim to be free-minded and open-minded will persecute you. Either you lose your job or you go to jail or you'll be thrown out of the country. So it is a lie across the board when people tell me that even in free societies, secular societies, you are able to express your beliefs freely and no one harming you. That's a lie. In the UK, what do they do to people just standing outside an abortion clinic and praying? What happens to them? They get thrown in jail. If you go outside right now in UK and say it's an abomination, you're going to be in jail, buddy. Do you know that? And UK is not a Christian nation. It's a secular government. And that's why God allowed Islam to come in to now beat these parliamentarians who oppose God and his word and oppose the church into submission and repentance. Now, not all Muslims. Those fanatical Muslims who are crazy, who don't want to impose Islamic rule. But that's not all Muslims.
Okay, I see. I see your point. Thank you.
So you're not arguing from a religious perspective. You're arguing from a secular, humanistic perspective that has its pros and cons. Now, don't get me wrong. I thank Jesus that I can practice my faith and go to any church I want and criticize. But that's not necessarily, and I'm sorry to say it to the Christians here. I hope you guys don't get upset at me. I hope you don't get upset at me. I'm trying to be very honest, fair, and balanced. That's not necessarily a Christian virtue because biblically, Old Testament, and then historically, the church did not allow apostasy and heresy to run rampant and free because they realize it's a spiritual cancer, and if it's not checked, it will destroy society. And hence, you see it. Because once these societies turn their back on Christianity, look at what happened to their societies. Degenerate, anarchist, chaos. Right?
True.
So I try not to be like every other guy who criticizes Islam and says, see, Islam does not allow freedom of speech. Well, my argument against what Muslims do is that they have no right to go around conquering lands, taking people captive, because Muhammad is a false prophet, an antichrist, son of Satan, and God did not give him any authority to do what they're doing in his name. I argue from a different angle. I don't argue from the common approach taken by Christians who argue inconsistently because they either are ignorant of their own history of how the church handled apostates or heretics, right? And or because they're biblically illiterate. My problem with Muhammad is he had no right to send out his armies to conquer people and subjugate them because God wasn't with him. But if Muhammad is a true prophet, and I know Muslims are going to love me for saying it, and he provided supernatural confirmation, God is with him, then I'm fighting God, not Muhammad. But I know I'm not fighting God because Muhammad is the son of Satan. So his jihadis have no right to go and take lands, molest married women, take captives, and impose jizya. See, I argue from a different angle.
I see.
Even in my debate with Daniel Hakikachu, I buried him because he tried to use this argument against me, saying, hold on, you follow the Bible. In the Old Testament, apostates were put to death. And I buried him in that argument because I already know what the response is to that objection, because I said, unlike your prophet Muhammad during the Old Testament period, God would either show up miraculously in a pillar of cloud and the nation saw it, which looked like a pillar of fire by night. The Egyptians saw that. Israel saw that. The nation saw it, to give miraculous confirmation. This is the people of God. These are the laws of God. So that now if you break them, you deserve the punishment you get. And then God continues, sent prophets to do miracles, to call the people back to that law that God revealed miraculously. What miraculous proof did Muhammad give to show that he was speaking for God? Nothing.
True.
You see my way of arguing?
True. Yeah, you even just rewarding all the, like, not vivid thoughts that I have. So I just now where I am and what should I deal with the emotions and the thinking.
Yep. So
Uh,
go ahead, brother, make your point.
this,
Go ahead.
I believe that, again, Satan cannot sell you if it's not mixed. It doesn't, it's not based on the truth. So again, when I'm trying to find the true God, although I'm just like trying to purify myself, to wash all the old and bad thoughts and perspective over God, there
Yes.
are some doubts that coming back, and
You're
those
keeping
doubts
it alive.
so the doubts are like, there are some facts that, not facts, there are some things that Muslims are claiming
Sure, I
that
know.
that
Science.
they are based on medicine, science, astronomy, architecture, and
Yes, I
stuff.
know. I know this. We've dealt with these, but let me, for argument's sake, let's say for argument's sake, they're right. The Quran has scientific miracles, which they don't. I'll go through it. I have the list. For each so-called scientific miracle, I'll give you 10 that contradict science. But nonetheless, even the one that they claim is scientific is a lie. But coming back to you. Okay.
I just
Let's,
wanted to know the sources. If they are right, what are the sources? Because if you tell me, I don't know, they are from like satanic, I
brother,
don't
let's
know,
say they're right.
cults.
Brother, let's say they're right.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let me say they're right. I'm going to go with you. Why should I assume that that means God authored the Quran? So you're telling me Satan, who is a being who has access to places that we don't. For example, Satan can enter the womb and see what's in the womb, or Satan can plunge the depth of the ocean, see what's in the ocean, or Satan can travel and see outer space. Why would that automatically mean that the Quran came from God as opposed to a satanic source, giving revelation to a man that at that time could not possibly know apart from some higher power, without that higher power being God? Why can't it be Satan?
That's true. But that's what I'm saying, because as an ex-Muslim, they never explained that. They said it's by the inspiration that God told him. And
How?
that's the part that they are trying to cover.
I know
And
they're
it make
coming back to that, brother, but my response is prove it. It's from God.
so
Once you concede the possibility that there's a spirit realm, and in the
mhm.
spirit realm, it's not just God, but there are also righteous angels and evil angels, and the spirit realm has access and can see things that we cannot see, then all you've proven is that the Quran comes from a higher power, a higher intellect, but not necessarily God. So what's the proof that God revealed and not Satan?
Okay, what are your proof that is from Satan then?
Because the argument that I always use is that Muhammad said that the scriptures of the Jews and Christians are the uncorrupt, pure words of God, and that the Jews and Christians are to judge by them. Well, let me ask you a question. Historically, before and during the time of Muhammad, what were the scriptures that the Jews and Christians were reading?
Same thing that we are having these days. Maybe in a different language, but same sources.
Same content. Now, we got a problem because Muhammad said, you Jews and Christians, do you want to test to see if I'm a prophet like the prophets before? I just sent you a link to our website, destroying all the lies that the Quran contains scientific miracles. In fact, we show it contains huge scientific blunders, even on embryo. and that it's simply plagiarizing Galen and his works on embryonic development. It's all documented. So right there, but let's just cut to the chase. Let me just, for argument's sake, say, okay, you have it. Okay, but all you prove to me is that Satan, who has access to the womb. Do you not believe, Muslim, that Satan enters your human body and can see your internal organs and can see what takes place inside your body? Yeah. So then how do you know that Satan, who's seeing how the embryo develops in a womb, doesn't relate that to Muhammad in order to shock you? But that assumes that the information in the Quran is right. No, if you actually read it, Muhammad is plagiarizing the same medical knowledge that was there being taught by Christians who had translated the works of Greek physicians such as Galen into Syriac and Arabic. Identical.
Wow.
Yeah, here are the receipts. Go there and see it. I gave you the link in private chat. But I'm going to be generous and say, all right, two problems. Number one, does Satan have access to the womb? Does he see what takes place in the womb? They have to say yes. So then how do you know that Satan did not accurately relate to Muhammad embryonic development? Secondly, cannot Satan fly from place to place? Meaning he can be here and the next second he can fly off and be somewhere else. And can he not also fly to the sky and the right? Yeah, he can. All right. So then how do you know it's not Satan and the demons who know space better than we do because they can travel there unlike we can, and know the oceans better than we do because they can plunge the depth of the oceans in ways that we can't? They didn't relay that information to Muhammad. Now, if they ask me, well, you prove that it's not from God. Very simply, the test that the Quran gives to me that Muhammad is a prophet, he confirms the scriptures I have. That his Quran is supposed to confirm what I have. And that's how I'm going to know the same God who sent the apostles of Jesus sent him. Sorry, boys, what I have, the scriptures I have, are the New Testament writings, along with the Old Testament. Your Quran contradicts these writings left and right. So it cannot be the same God. Therefore, this test shows that Muhammad is a liar.
True.
So that's my response to the Muslim. That's my response to the Muslim. So here it is. And then we document the gross scientific errors of the Quran and Hadith that they don't mention. There's too many. It's all there. We've done it. That's why hardly, if at all, any informed Muslim, informed da'i, who actually debates, uses those arguments anymore. The ones who use those arguments are those who are not online, who have not debated, and are still using arguments that have been demolished for over 10 years, which even Muslims say should not be used anymore. I'll give you an example. Ali Dawa. He even says that the so-called scientific statements of the Quran are not miraculous after all.